Unmute your mic.
Yes, ma'am. I need to go this way.
Good evening, everyone. It's February, and it's our second show of the year, and it's Black History Month. Although it's Black Excellence every day here at Smack Productions, we're going to do something special and celebrate a Black present day legend. I am your host, Michelle Campbell, and I have a very special guest with me tonight. I usually read my guest bios before we go into the show. However, since this show is about his journey, by the end of the show, you should know exactly who he is. But here's a little bit that I will tell you about him. He grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. He attended Florida A&M University and is a member of FAMU's Football Hall of Fame. He is also a member of the State of Florida Track and Field Hall of Fame. He is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He had a 12-year career in the NFL playing for teams such as the Cleveland Browns, the Minnesota Vikings, where he spent most of his career, and the Washington Redskins. He is the first African-American punter in the NFL. He was a sideline reporter for KFan and the Vikings radio network and has recently retired from this position. He was a marketing professional for one of the leading companies in communications. He is a father, a husband, a grandfather, a friend, and so much to so many people. Now, before I steal any of the thunder that he is about to bring to us tonight, let me introduce to you Greg Coleman. Welcome, Greg, to the show. Hopefully you can hear me. I know we were having some technical difficulties, but let's see if his video comes back on. We'll give it a second here. All right. Hi, Greg.
Hello, Michelle. You know, one thing about technology is great when it works, but sometimes, like technology, like in life, sometimes you have to adjust, adapt, and execute a different game plan. And I am so okay in having to, do those things, which we all have to do in life anyway. So it's no big deal that we having or had a issue or two, but it is such a pleasure to be with you tonight. You have been a very, very dear friend, a confidant, and a cohort for a number of years. So it is my honor to be with you tonight.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you. I don't know if you want to just give a preamble or anything, or we can get right into the questions, because I am just so excited to share what I know about you, but I want you to be able to share that with the world. So,
I'm sure that we will get to that. So let's lock and load. And I'm sure with the time that we have, we will have uncovered and peeled back the onion, peeled back the banana, and make sure that we have made sure that we talk about and give credence to this particular window that the world has stated to be Black History Month. Well, it's Black history every day for people of African American descent. And not only do I don't take offense to it, but I tell people all the time, and I may take off a purple jersey after a game, but after that game, I cannot take off this black skin and unzip it, because I'm a Black man 24/7.
right.
Actually, here in New Orleans, celebrating and being a part of the HBCU Legacy Bowl. That was a dream of Doug Williams, the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl MVP. Doug was a teammate of mine when we were in Washington. So we've talked about the struggles of the Black quarterback. I am here to shed a different light on the African American punter and place kicker. I think we've resolved the issue and the woes of the stereotypical ways that people looked at the black quarterback over the years. But believe it or not, many, many years later, there's only one African American punter in the National Football League.
Hmm.
And using this platform of now being a part of the HBCU Black College Football Hall of Fame, we are presenting the first Greg Coleman Golden Touch Award. And what
Mm.
that award is given to is a HBCU African American punter and kicker, providing them with a grant and the resources to get to punting and kicking camps, to refine their skills, to get the exposure to scouts and coaches in the National Football League, to help give them a leg up on life, something that I didn't have.
Yeah.
So they can avoid some of the pitfalls that come along with being a professional athlete. Because first and foremost, they have to understand that this is a business. When you're in college, it's a sport and all of those things, but now you're a professional. You
Mhm.
are the CEO of your corporation.
Mhm.
And NFL means not for long, but it's a wonderful stepping stone that you could set you and your family up for the rest of your life. But you've got to take advantage of it because you're at the mercy of a coach or an injury or the decision of somebody else. And
Mhm.
we talk about uh, certain things. We're having a career fair with a lot of major corporations who are here for these young people, these young men, because you can't play forever. I don't
Right.
care how great you are. You can be a Hall of Famer. You can be the most elite athlete in the world, but no one beats Father Time.
Yeah.
So use this platform to prepare yourself. The I think one of the most important things that happened to me, Michelle, was actually getting cut my rookie year after I was drafted by Cincinnati in the 14th round back in 1976. I thought I was a cat's meow,
Hmm.
and I made the mistake of running the 40 in a very good time. The owner at that time said that you got too much speed to just punt and kick. And I said, well, what about the other guys that are just sitting around? He said, well, they don't have the speed that you have. So they tried me at wide receiver, tried me at defensive back. None of those things worked out because those are positions that I've never played. And then I had to go and compete against these other guys. Long story short, I was cut. I went back to Jacksonville and I taught high school history. I worked also because I was a criminology major at Florida A&M. I worked for the state attorney's office as an investigator. But knowing that I still had that desire to be a punter, a kicking specialist in the National Football League, hey, I continued to work and got an opportunity. Now, let me digress, and go back to my formative years. I started kicking footballs. I started kicking cans over the fence, pop cans. Then, when I got a football, I started kicking them over the electric wires in front of the house.
Hmm.
Then I started kicking balls over the house. And pretty soon, when we went to the park, instead of guys throwing the ball away when they didn't get the first down, I would kick. And they said, man, what is in your mind that made you think to do that?
Mhm.
Well, I was watching a game between the Baltimore Colts, and the Colts used to play up in Old Memorial Stadium. And it was this particular game. It was raining. It was cold. It was, blood on their uniforms, and they wore these clean white uniforms. That was Johnny Unitas and Tom Matty and John Mackey and all of those great players. And I saw the punter walk out on the field with his clean white uniform on, Michelle. There was no blood. There was no dirt. And he walked out, and there were 10 men in front of him protecting him and only him. And he kicked the ball and walked back to the sideline. And I said, "That's what I want to do, and that's what I wanted to be." Because I didn't want nobody
Right.
hitting on me. I was not a very
Right.
big person, so that was a very early age that I start setting goals, and I worked towards it. In my high school yearbook, where they put, name and favorite color and ambition and all of those things. I
Yeah.
said that I wanted to be a kicking specialist in the National Football League. And
Wow.
I worked my behind off. And I had the
Wow.
help of a lot of people who gave me a hand, a foot, or an encouraging word. So that's why words are so important. And I had my high school coach to tell me, Greg, I was a defensive end and I was a quarterback sack specialist. He said the likelihood of you playing defensive end at the next level is unrealistic.
Mm.
So why don't you take that bag of balls and go up on the field and see if you can flip the field and refine that gift that God has given you.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. My high school quarterback, Don Gaffney, out of Jacksonville Reigns, was the first African-American quarterback at the University of Florida, an SEC institution.
Mm.
And I said, Cap, we're gonna go together. But schools down there, all of the large schools, Florida State and University of Miami and other schools down in the Southeast, they told me, and they said, Greg, we are just getting our alumni in the position to accept the fact that we're going to have a black quarterback. I
Mm.
damn sure can't have a black kicker at this point.
Wow.
In comes Florida A&M. Coach Bobby Lane comes to my house, and he says, Miss Coleman, we don't have any money to give your son a car. We don't have money to put an addition on the back end of your house. We don't have money to give Greg's girlfriend a scholarship. And I'm not saying that's what those other schools did, but he made reference to that. And he said, but Miss Coleman, if your son comes to Florida A&M, he can run track because I was a high school hurdler, and he can kick and punt until his heart is content. And if he goes to class, he'll graduate. And my mom just kind of looked at him, and she looked at me, and he said, oh, Miss Coleman, by the way, we'll feed him. He'll never go hungry while he's at Florida A&M. My mama say, hell, boy, give me that pen. Where do we sign?
I know that's right.
Oh my gosh. I said, Ma, that's all you worry about, how much you eat? She said, heck, I'd rather clothe you than feed you, because there were three of us. There were three boys. She said, heck, I y'all eat too much. Anyway, long story short, I go to Florida A&M, and I had the most amazing experience at an HBCU institution with coaches and mentors, teachers. My kicking coach, Pop Kittles. I can remember one day we were at practice, and I'm just hitting them right down the middle, 50, 60, 70-yard punts. And I'm kicking them right to the guy. And Pop said, well, baby, why are you kicking it right to him? I said, well, Pop, that's where he's standing. He said, well, hell, baby, make him work for his supper. Kick it to the right, kick it to the left, make him work for it. And he said, and if you do it on a consistent basis, they'll find a place for you at the next level. And that's the National Football League. And I was dumb enough to believe Pop Kittles, because Pop was a man of truth. He was a God-fearing man. He was full of wisdom. And I knew that Pop wouldn't lie to me. So I took those words from Pop Kittles, and I worked my tail off each and every day, believing and hearing those words. Baby, if you do it on a consistent basis, they'll find a place for you at the next level.
Mm.
And that's why words are so critical. That's why words are so important. And to say that one man doesn't make a difference, no. You can look at some of the great African American historians. Martin Luther King, one man made a difference. Muhammad Ali, one man made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So many others. President Barack Obama, one
Absolutely.
man makes a difference. So my journey through Florida A&M was so amazing. I'll give you one story. After one game, I had a pretty good game, and we were back in class. And my English teacher was the wife of former head coach and athletic director, the infamous Jake Gaither.
Okay.
And if you Google Jake Gaither, he was one of the most winningest coaches of all of college football, not just black college football.
Mm.
And Miss Gaither said, why didn't you tell me that's who you were? I said, well, Miss Gaither, I'm just coming to class. I want to do what I need to do and get my work. She said, when is your study hall? I said, well, it's on Wednesday. She said, well, you come to my house every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, because I'm gonna make sure that you get your homework, you get all your lessons. And she said, you're gonna graduate. You're not gonna be like the rest of those boys. And
Mm.
I said, yes, Miss Gaither. So I had to go to her house. And the intimidation of being in the den of Jake Gaither, the legendary Jake Gaither, with all of these photos and trophies and awards, pictures like of Bob Hayes and Ken Riley and Al Denson and the great Willie Gallimore and Althea Gibson, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm sitting in this den, and Jake would come in. The first time he said, "Well, hell, Sadie, what is he doing here?" And Miss Gaither said, "Well, Jake, you get your behind out of here and leave this baby alone, because he's gonna graduate. He's gonna get his lesson. He's not gonna be like the rest of them boys." And every Wednesday night, I had to go to Miss Gaither's house.
Wow. Wow.
That's the kind of nurturing that I got from HBCUs. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm trying to give back to these young men. I can't go to their house. I can't help them with their study hall, all of those things, but I can talk to them about the pitfalls of
Yeah.
being a pro, because you're graduating from college. And if you're fortunate enough to make it to the National Football League, it means NFL means not for long. So I can tell you about what it means to be a pro. I can caution you about what you post on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I can caution you about your brand. I can caution you about, because I didn't make it my first year, but to prepare yourself and play each game like it's your last, because you're only one play away from retirement. And that could be at a coach's decision or an injury. So that's why I'm so passionate about being here in New Orleans for the HBCU Legacy Bowl and giving that Golden Touch Award to a young man. So my journey was so rich, with so many great people and relationships that I have with people even today, Michelle. Many, many, many years
Mm.
later, I graduated from Florida A&M back in 1976. So to have relationships that have lasted the test of time, the good Lord has just been good to me.
Well, you're a relationship person anyway. I mean, not just on the, football or, even the collegiate level or just in the community. I've seen people from every walk of life gravitate to you, you know, old white men, children, men, women, police officers, chiefs. I mean, it just everyone. And I think it's a testament of the impact that you've had on relationships with people. You give back. You realize that it is so important to not only take, because people are giving you something as you're young and you're trying to come up and figure it out, but also to give back once you got there. And if we could step back for a second, because your journey wasn't that easy, I mean, so to speak. I mean, you got drafted, right? But then you got cut, and then you got another opportunity, then you got cut, then you went and became a school teacher for a minute, and then you got this phone call, right? And what was going through your mind in this? Because you're thinking, like, when you wrote in your high school yearbook, I want to be, a special kicker or punter, in the NFL. And now this is occurring for you. And granted, and this is something we have to level set too. Everybody's not going to make it to the league. I mean, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many people that
Mm-hmm.
play this game with this dream that I'm going to make pro. And so, like, I like what you're doing, to also prepare them with the idea that they may have to go into the workforce too at some point, because you're not going to do this forever. But you wanted to do this so hard and so tough. You were there, you weren't there, you were there, you weren't there. You went out to do something, giving back as a teacher, and then you get another chance. But what is that like?
It's the ebb and flows of life. I mean, we've all been disappointed, and it's how you handle disappointment, Michelle. And I learned from my dad watching him. My dad was the first black salesman at J.C. Penney's in downtown Jacksonville. And I
Mm,
saw how he had to maneuver through racist taunts,
mm,
comments, the biases. They put him down in the basement in work clothes. But
hmm,
year after year, when people in Jacksonville found out that there was a black salesman in J.C. Penney's, man, they would take whatever they got, whether they were on the third floor for women uh, lingerie, or kids' clothes, they would get what they wanted and they would come down to the basement in the corner over by work clothes to have Max Coleman wait on
Mm,
them because
okay.
in
Hmm.
year after year he would be salesman of the year, and they wondered how he did it. Well, I watched my dad maneuver, and there were principles that he lived by, and there were three. He would say always, "Can I help you?
Hmm.
Please and thank you." And
Wow.
those are three of those things that I even continue through my life that
Hmm.
he instilled in me. And it's a principle that works for both saint and sinner.
That's true.
And I'm just trying to be a vessel, a broken vessel, a marred vessel that God can use for his glory.
Hmm.
I can remember you talked about how difficult it was. Each time that you get cut, there's a piece of your humanity is taken away from you
Hmm.
because you knew that you had the ability, that you had the wherewithal, that you were better than some of these other guys,
Yeah.
but you had to wait for the right time because when preparation meets opportunity, normally it equals success.
Hmm.
But see, we had a lot of successful moments, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it equaled success. And I'll share a story. Many years ago, as a young child playing football, we were the city champions back in Jacksonville, and every city champion was supposed to play in the Gaither Bowl. That was a big stadium down in Jacksonville, and well, because of the color of our skin, we won the city championship, and we go there with our equipment and everything. And they said, "Well, the coach comes back and says, well, we can't play, but we can take a picture." Well, what do you
Mm.
mean we can't play? Well, it was in the midst of segregation, and we couldn't play the white team.
Wow.
So to see a bunch of 10, 11, 12 year old kids with a disappointment on their face,
Hmm.
driven by racism, driven by prejudice, driven by biases, um, the stigma of racism still stings, even to this day.
Hmm.
But those were things that you had to overcome. We were not going to be victims because even off of that little pee wee football team, the Astro Bees, 5 men off of just that one little team in Scott Park either put on a Major League Baseball uniform, an NFL uniform, because we had coaches and community who cared about us. And our high school motto was Ichiban. And
Hmm.
in Japanese, that means number one. So those kinds of principles were instilled in us. So we had so many, I told you words matter.
Hmm.
Words are so incredible. But how I overcame, Michelle, I had a great base. I had a great family. I had a great wife. When I got cut from Cleveland, after leading the league that preseason, I told
Hmm.
the coach at that time, I said, listen, well, let me back up. After I was cut from Cincinnati, I went back and taught school. Jake Gaither knew a special teams coach from Southern University who was a special teams coach at Cleveland. He gave him a call. He said, Al, give my boy a chance. That's all he needs. So I
Mm.
signed with the Cleveland Browns. I punted that year. But Cleveland drafted a kid in the second round out of Ohio State, Big Ten school like you went to.
Hmm.
But he didn't want to punt in Cleveland. He wanted to punt in a dome stadium in Detroit,
Oh, wow.
a place that you knew a little bit about.
A little bit.
And so he held out. Well,
Mm.
Forrest Gregg was a coach of Cleveland that time, and Forrest Gregg was a full-blown Native American, Cherokee Indian. And Forrest Gregg came to me because he got tired of this back and forth. He said, "Can you handle this?" I said, "Coach, all I need is an opportunity."
Hmm.
So the opportunity presented itself because I was prepared. I was kicking the heck out of the ball. He said, "You're going to be my punter."
Okay.
Unfortunately, Forrest got cut at the end of the year, and so did I. And I bounced around from team to team to team trying out. And we were still in Cleveland. We were expecting our first child. And I can remember a game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. And I go to my ninth floor apartment window and I open the window and I'm screaming at God. I said, you lied to me. You said that you would give me the desires of my heart if I prayed, if I did the right things. And I said, where are you? You're not there. And I said, I just want to play football so bad that I'll even play for the Minnesota Vikings. And I closed my ninth floor apartment window. I kid you not, the Monday morning, because it was the seventh game of the season. I remember it vividly. I went out on a job interview at a bank because we had to get some more money. We had everything going out, nothing coming in. And I got back from that interview and my wife said, you remember what you said yesterday when you screamed at God? I said, yeah. And you said that you would even play for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but before I tell you the end of the story, when we were little shorties down in Jacksonville, Florida, we said that we would never, ever, ever play for the Minnesota Vikings because number one, it was always cold as heck in Bloomington, Minnesota. There was smoke coming out of their mouth, their ears, their nose, and wherever there was, an edifice for smoke to come out of. That was
Yeah.
number one. Number two, they had a coach by the name of Bud Grant that had piercing blue eyes that didn't say a word to anybody. But here's the most important reason why we said we would never play for Minnesota. Because the Minnesota Vikings wore black shoes. And you got to remember, back in the day, all the cool brothers
Right.
wore white shoes. Billy White Shoes Johnson, Joe Willie Namath, Elmore Wright. The list goes on and on and on. So we were not going to go to Minnesota to freeze our behind off to play for a coach that didn't say anything and wear black shoes.
Black shoes.
I thought about that at that moment when my wife said, you remember what you said that you would never ever play for Minnesota? I said, yeah. She said, well, they called and they want you on the plane. And I spent the next 10 years punting for the Minnesota Vikings.
How about that?
So God has a funny sense of humor. You
Oh,
tell him
yeah.
what you're not going to do, and then he'll show you.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
I was humbled to play for the Minnesota Vikings, spent the next 10 years there. Like I said, finished up with Washington, with Doug Williams. But over the last 44 years, I've been a part of the Minnesota Vikings organization the last 21 years as a sideline analyst, and just most recently, a couple of weeks ago, at the end of the season, I announced that I was retiring after 21 years as a sideline analyst for the Vikings.
Congratulations.
Thank you. There were no isms or schisms or anything. They didn't see it coming. I prayed about it, had peace about it, because there's nothing like game day in the National Football League. But I know that there's more journey behind me than there is in front of me. And with the time and the journey that I have in front of me, I want to continue to make a difference, especially with HBCU schools. I'm going to support and help FAMU a little bit more than I have been. Being here a part of this Legacy Bowl and the Greg Coleman Golden Touch Award is something that will hopefully make the difference in the life of someone else. People will say, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to continue to host my golf tournament, going to, continue to chase my wife, and hopefully she'll let me catch her every now and then. We've got 8 grandkids, and,
Whoa.
God has just been so good to us. Going to do some speaking of professional speakers. So I've got 3 pillars of that. I'm the CEO of that company from a corporate, a community, and ministry. So that's what we're going to continue to do. We'll continue to share words, because I told you words are so important. And I don't care at what level you are. You can be the CEO of a major corporation or community leader or in ministry in a church. Because I truly believe that we all were given a gift. And if it's to give someone a glass of water or an encouraging word, then you have ministered to that person and you have changed their moment for that moment. And that's what we're going to continue to do. There's some trips that we want to take, when this pandemic, eases up a little bit, but we are just so happy and elated and blessed. And God's favor has been on us.
Absolutely.
for so many years, and I can't thank him enough for the gifts that he's given us.
That's a wonderful testimony. Well, I can tell you just from my exposure to you, you have been a blessing to me. And I want to share a story about kind of how we got to know each other and how that kind of grew into this relationship we have now as friends. Well, I was at the time considering doing a transition out of a career I had been in for 2 decades. Very, very hard decision to make that move, but decided it was time. And so I'll never forget. I went down to, I want to say it was IACP, International Association Chiefs of Police conference down in Orlando, and you were working for the company that I was interested in at the time. And we were talking, and you were like, oh, so you want to do this, and okay, you're going to come in and you're going to run this organization, you're going to do that. He was like, well, yeah, I think, I think you can do it. I think they need somebody like you. And, I'm hoping that you do accept that opportunity because they really want you. And I was thinking like, okay, this is big for me because it wasn't just taking another job. It was a whole
Hmm.
relocation. I was
Hmm.
leaving Chicago, moving to Boston. Uh, don't know anybody there. I've been in Chicago for 20 years, grew up in Detroit. So it was like, oh, I got this other big move. But um, you were such an inspiration. And then so as we were, talking at the conference, and we're walking, how conference have these aisleways and we're going up and down, and people are just stopping you like, oh Greg, oh Greg, oh Greg.
Oh, stop it, stop it, Michelle.
They were. They so were. And I was like, this is a like a geeky telecom conference. What did this man do in telecom that changed the world? Maybe he invented, like, I don't know, was it the beeper or something? I don't know what he did. And then you finally told me, you were like, oh, I used to play for the NFL. And I was like, what? I didn't never know that. But I'll tell you what, you've never, and as prestigious as that title sounds to the rest of the world, you've always kept it very humble. I mean, honestly, I talked to you and had never known that's not something that you go out and lead with. You are just who you are. And having to have met your wife, wonderful, wonderful woman, and the friends within the whole law enforcement society, I want to say, is, I mean, it's a family. And it's hard to even explain. I've had the law enforcement executives on my show a couple of times, and I try to tell people that it's, they say the cops, they cause trouble. It's, they make trouble in our communities and things. I mean, honestly, it's like a pocket, right? It's a small pocket. I mean, because if you get into that world and you really see, there are some good guys. Those guys, they do this because they love to do this,
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
to make things better, but you never hear that part of it, right? So to have that opportunity to work with you in that capacity and be able to speak to law enforcement about technology and how their lives can be better, and we're making things to make their lives better. I mean, it was a wonderful time, I have to
It,
say.
it
You know,
it really was, Michelle, and more than anything else, it's about relationships.
yes,
Because at that time, our company was number two,
yep,
and the competition had a stranglehold on almost every organization. But being determined through just respecting people for who they were. You
yes,
mentioned that sometimes law enforcement gets a bad rap, and it does, because there's some great chiefs and sheriffs in this country that we still have relationships and
mm-hmm,
in friendships today. But there always are some bad apples
mm-hmm,
in every barrel, and they get lumped together. It
unfortunately.
is so unfortunate. You're absolutely right, and but we used, number one, the technology that we had, but we also used the people that we had
Mm-hmm.
that were open, that were honest, that we dealt with integrity. And you may not like what we have to say, but we're going to tell you the truth. And I found out that
Yeah.
that was the key for my success, being one of those, C-level executives and being I guess the face of the company with those associations.
Hmm.
Um, and you build a trusting relationship, and some that are still intact today.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine. They love you, Greg Coleman. I mean, and the thing is that you exposed me to that. You brought me around and said, "Hey, I want you to meet the chief of this, city. I want you to meet the sheriff of this county. I want you to meet this." I met so many people through you, and then being part of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, that is just a whole nother world because that's all of our people, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
these leadership positions. And, people don't realize, but I think it's like 40% of law enforcement is African American, like
yeah,
executives, right? So
yes.
they got a big role in that space. And to see them in action with authority, with making decisions and leading, cities and counties, it's awesome. It was really.
It really was, and still, a lifetime member of Noble, and just earlier this week, hosted a forum in Minnesota for Minnesota Black law enforcement executives, honoring four of those major pioneers and trailblazers who opened the door, some of the first in law enforcement, the first female of the city
Mm,
of St. Paul, not black female, first female,
female,
period, Debbie
period.
Montgomery, the first chief of the city of St. Paul, Bill Finney, Chief Finney, his wife, Linda Finney, the first superintendent of the BCA Association, the first black highway patrolman in the state of Minnesota. I mean, so these are trailblazers that, man, that
Hmm.
relationships that you develop that will never go away.
Mm-hmm.
Those trusting relationships, and people come into your life for a season. And I think what we did during that season was some amazing work,
It was.
that we changed the lives of people. Some of the things that we developed in the back, in the back room, after going on, the overnight shift, going on ride-alongs with firemen, going on ride-alongs with cops in the toughest
Mhm.
neighborhoods. So
Yes.
we understood. We were in their shoes, and they said,
Yes.
"Man, if you guys can come out with us and come into our world, there's got to be something to you."
Mm-hmm.
And we were the conduit, between law enforcement and our companies. So I will treasure those years, those 24 years, uh, in law enforcement communications. And man, and
Hmm.
you were just a bright star.
Hmm.
You came in and you did some amazing things, being in that space
Ugh.
that very few black females were
Hmm.
in.
Yes.
So I applaud you, and I still treasure our
Thank
relationship
you.
that developed many, many years ago. And I do continue to call you friend and
Oh,
my sister, not
yes.
Sister, but Sista.
I heard that. All right now. Now I know that you've done, football, you've done the teaching for a stint, you've done the corporate marketing life, and you're also a preacher. So tell us a little bit about that because I know you were doing some things on the sideline. I think they called you. I forgot what your title was. Now it was how they titled you as a preacher for Minnesota. Oh,
Okay, you're gonna have to back up because we had a commercial break there,
oh
so
yeah, okay.
we didn't get it all of it.
So no, I was just talking about you as a preacher and being a kind of the expected preacher to have a word for the team before they went on the field. So how did that come about? And I mean, I already know that this is what you do, but how that really was it was almost like a thing that they expected, and it was like a treat for them to have that word. And you think in a world that's, majority like secular in mind, and we're talking the NFL, but they bring this element of spirituality, right? That you bring this to them and the team is looking for this. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I went to theology school to learn for myself. I did not go to be a minister, to be a pastor. I just wanted it for my own edification. And my pastor at the time said, I am going to license you against all recommendations. And I said, I don't want to be on your staff. I don't need your license. Just tell me what you want me to do and get out of my way. Because I didn't like what I saw in some ministers. He said, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I need you on my staff to show
Mm-hmm.
them the right way. I said, okay. And he said, if you got a problem with it, you talk to God. End of story. So went to school and studied, did, for my own edification, became a part of his staff, an associate pastor of adult ministries and so on. And our, our ministry grew, our church grew, went to 2 services, outgrew that. Then we outgrew the building, so we bought another building. Long story short, I had an opportunity to become a part of the broadcast team many years before I accepted, but I was just going in the ministry at the early stages, and I didn't want to leave. Um, and I let that opportunity pass by.
Hmm.
It comes full circle 3 years later. And I said, well, here's some ideas that can make your broadcast better. Uh, and we left the country on a vacation, and I come back. My son says, oh, you're going to do sideline for the Vikings now? I said, no, I didn't say I was going to do that. Well, that's what they reported. So I said, no, I just gave them some ideas. So long story short, we talked about it, prayed about it. My pastor released me to do that. My wife was in favor. We were all in agreement. And I said, listen, this is who I am. And you don't get one side, you don't get the football side without the ministry side. Long story short, a couple of years, our current play-by-play guy, Paul Allen, heard me speak at one of our chapel services while we were on the road. And the segment right before kickoff used to be called Coleman's Keys to Victory. And he heard me that night, and we getting ready for kickoff. It's 45 seconds right before kickoff, and I have to give my keys. And he said, well, we going down to Greg Coleman for the keys to the game. No, we ain't gonna call it keys no more. We go down for the preach. I heard him preach last night. We going down for the pregame preach. So
Pre-game.
the pregame preach, that was the genesis.
Okay.
And so 45 seconds before every kickoff, God can use a jackass, so I qualify for that. And, in those 45 seconds, I would tie in a scripture with a football analogy every week, and it's created its own phenomena, its own following. I'm not going to say it's a cult following, no, because it's a word of encouragement. I told you earlier that words are so important because the words in the texts, in the tweets, in the letters, in the calls that I get about people who were in dark places, thinking
Mm.
about doing something real stupid, just those 45 seconds made a difference. And, every now and then you'll get a note from a pastor. Well, I can appreciate what you do, but you're using that scripture out of context. I say, listen, bro, I got 45 seconds. You got 45 minutes. I'm just trying to get them to a place that they will want to come into your church and listen to you for
Mhm.
45 seconds. So don't
Mhm.
get it twisted. You know,
Mhm.
but anyway, you get me all excited again now, Michelle. But that's part of who we are. I assisted our chaplain, Tom Lamphere, for many, many years because players are people too.
Mhm.
When they cut, they bleed. They have families that have issues. They got to deal with mom and them. Our staff and our coaches, they all have issues. And it's great to have that spiritual component because the team is going to do the physical, the mental, all of those things, the nutrition. But we would come in and provide a spiritual base for
Mm.
those who wanted it. And I will miss that more than anything else. Uh, in that space. I will miss game day because there's nothing like game day in the National Football League. You had the opportunity to be on the sidelines with us
I
a couple
did.
of games, and
Wait,
there
not only
is.
wait, let me tell you, that was my first time ever. I'm from Detroit, and Detroit people don't kill me, but going to a Detroit football game, a Viking had to get me to Detroit. And I'm serious because otherwise I wouldn't have been there because I left and moved away. But you were like, hey, I'm going to be in Detroit. I think I was at home around Christmas. You was like,
Mm-hmm.
come on down to the sideline and see what we do. And boy, that was an experience. I got to meet some cool people, get up close and personal with the team. And it was like, for this to be a first time ever to go to the
So I spoiled you. So I spoiled you, huh?
Oh my goodness! So I have a high expectation now. Every time I go to a game, I went to the, I still go to our college games.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State is a big rivalry game, and I was like, this past year, I had the opportunity to actually walk through the tunnel with the team and
Oh
do
man,
all of that and lead the band. And as we went into the stadium, I was like, well, if I got to do it, I got to go big now. Greg
absolutely,
just set the blueprint.
absolutely.
I can't just be a spectator at a game anymore.
But see, Michelle, let me take you back a few years. You talked about the relationships that we had in law enforcement. Whenever we went to an opposing city, we used to have these little parabolic mics, these little mini satellites, where we would get our sound for the game. Well, each city where we went in, I would call somebody, call a fire chief, and we would get one fire person or someone from law enforcement to come down on the field to hold the microphones during the games. So that developed in, you just use what you have. God gave it to you. Why not use it? So
Yeah.
that developed a relationship, a trusting relationship. And it got to the point where these guys said, hey, man, I know you coming to here. So I got you. I mean, they were like little
Oh,
kids on the sidelines.
yeah.
So, you use what you have. And God has given all of us something that
Yes.
that we can use, like I said, for His glory. And I've just been so fortunate and so blessed to use the National Football League, um, to use technology more than anything else. Now that football is, I'm not going to say a part of my past, because I will always be um, a football, I'm not going to say a fan, but a lover of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But more than anything else,
Oh, I think we might have.
help
There we go.
to
Wait.
be an encourager, to make somebody else's day. Sometimes
I think we're having a little technical difficulty, so we'll just hang tight for a second because it seems that it always comes back. Here we go, buffering. There we go.
no, we just had to. Hey, we got to pay for the show. We had another
I
commercial
know.
break.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Come
But
on,
but
and a
but
word from our
sometimes doing.
sponsors.
That's right. That's right. Even when I go on my morning walks or slogs or jog or whatever you want to call it, you know, I'm always waving at people who are passing by on their way to work, on their way to school. And somebody asked me, man, why are you always waving at people? I said, man, you never know what that person
Mhm.
have just left behind. You don't know
That's
what they're
right.
going into. So if I can
Hmm.
just wave at them and just give them a smile, because one day I might trip and fall on my journey.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, wait a minute, that's the old dude that used to wave all the time. Let's pull over and see what's going on. So you
Yeah.
just never know how you can make the difference in the life of somebody.
That's right. So I want to ask you a fun fact because
Sure.
my guy was telling me about something I thought was really cool, and I kind of want to know a little bit about it. So I heard that you were a one of the athletes in this video game, Tecmo Bowl, and I was like, what? Because I didn't even know this. I don't even know what it was on Atari or something like that, but. Um, can you tell me just a little bit about that process? Did you know you were going to be in it? Did you get
No,
paid? Or
heck
did they
no.
put you in it?
Listen, and that's why, we have a players association to make make sure that the league doesn't use our likeness, that we get funded for it, and all of those things. I can remember being on a commercial. I can remember I was going up to yell at a referee about something, and I was going to say something that wasn't very nice, and he goes, "Illegal procedure, Minnesota," and he slaps me in the face. Well, McDonald's bought that particular spot, and every
Oh,
time that I got hit in the face, I would get a check from McDonald's. So,
are you
oh,
serious?
absolutely, they use my likeness. So I'm hoping, hey, they would bring that video clip back of me getting hit in the face, or but
Oh, wow.
the NFL is just an amazing money making machine,
Hmm.
and talking about cool things that you've experienced. I mean, I was just part of a couple of weeks ago, last week, as a matter of fact, the NFL Super Bowl Gospel Choir. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that
Nice.
played on the Saturday prior to the Super Bowl, and I've
Hmm.
done that for the last 4 years in a row. But man, memories in relationships, um, significant moments and significant memories. When it's all
Yeah,
said and done, that's all we have.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm trying to think. There's so much. That's, I'm looking at my notes here, but it seems like you've done so much, you know. You're a young man, but you've done a lot, you've seen a lot, you've changed the lives of so many, whether you knew it or not. And now you're at this place where you are officially retired. Okay. And you're now having time to spend with your family. I know you were always on the golf course, but I know it's probably in your backyard now. But
It is.
I figured. And so, what would you say is next on your horizon for this next chapter of your life?
Well, I think they're pieces of a dream. Part of it is this HBCU passion that we have in helping young people get a leg up on life, taking the next step in their journey of the NFL, doing whatever we can for those young men. Also, I said that I'm the CEO of my speaking company. It's Greg Coleman, the number 8, Speaks LLC.
Okay.
So I'm not looking to build a multi-million-dollar empire of speaking. I will take assignments that the Lord sends me on, because when I take assignments, that means that I'm sent versus asking to come to speak. I think I have a message for leaders, an encouraging word to shift their culture in their organizations, give them some leadership skills that I've learned through 24 years in corporate America,
Mhm.
44 years in the National Football League, 12 years as a player, the first African American punter. I mean, and I know that corporations and companies are made up of winners, losers, all pros, Hall of Famers. I'm a Hall of Famer, and there's some things that I can share to help your team flip the field, shift the atmosphere, and get a leg up on life. And that's all that we want to do.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I'm glad to hear that. So I know you got all these grandkids. Are they keeping you busy?
Oh my God, the latest one, Zana Rose Coleman. She is the joy of my life. Not
Hmm.
to say that the others are not, because they all are. But Zana is 4 months old, and we
Hmm.
were all together Christmas, and they said, "Well, Papa, Big Papa, why don't you go put Zana down to sleep?" So I go in the back room, and Zana decides that she wasn't ready to go to sleep. So we're in there talking, and she's babbling back, and I taught her how to laugh and giggle. And so her mom and dad comes in, my son and his wife. They come, say, "Well, you were supposed to be putting her to sleep." I said, "Well, that's what grandparents do.
Exactly.
They give the grandkids whatever they want and give them back to their mamas and daddies." So,
Hmm.
this journey of being a grandparent is so rewarding. I wish I'd had grandkids first.
Mm.
But we are going to enjoy life.
Yeah.
We're going to take some trips. Um, we're going to spoil the grandkids. We're going to play a lot of golf. I'm supporting my high school coaches, my high school track coach in the Bob Hayes track meet down in Florida.
Okay.
Um, we'll still have our golf tournament up in Minneapolis in August. And I know that you've got some clubs, and
Mm-hmm.
the date is August 16th. So I would love to see your
Couple
face
days
in the
after my
place.
birthday.
Absolutely. And we've
Yeah.
had this conversation before.
Yes, we
So,
have.
so,
Yes, yes. I got
we
a brand new set of tailor-made clubs.
see, and
I got to break them
I
out.
know
I
you
know.
got the outfits and the
Oh,
shoes to match. So
you
yeah,
already know. You already know.
and believe it or not, we have almost 35 to 40% ladies that play in our tournament.
Really? Oh, that's
Yes, yes, and we used 27 holes. We had 256 golfers
good.
last year, benefiting the YMCA of the North. Their mentoring, tutoring, and sports programs. And let me say this: all of our young people in this country is not going to hell in a handbasket. We've got some young people that are doing some amazing things, but sometimes media, mainstream media, tend to focus on what's bad. But we've got some great young people, and we just need to help and support them in any kind of way. And Michelle, I grew up in, I told you that our motto at my high school was Ichiban, be the best. A very dear friend of mine, a mentor and former teammate with the Cleveland Browns by the name of Gerald Irons. He was a linebacker, played 12 years in the National Football League. Gerald said, Greg Coleman, I've watched you maneuver through all of this minutia. He said, man, and you're just the best.
Hmm.
And he said, you inspired me to write this poem. And I know we're, winding down on the clock, but I want to share this poem because I told Gerald
Please.
whenever I speak, and we lost Gerald last year.
Mm,
He had kids that went to Michigan and Michigan State that played football. A
mm.
great Irons family, and it's called "To Be the Best." And it goes a little bit like this: To be the best is my quest. Athletes come and athletes go, but there's something very special of being a pro. On and on towards this goal, I'll strive while keeping my championship hopes alive. To be the best is my quest. Now, some might be happy just to make the Viking squad, but I'll never be satisfied until I get that Super Bowl wad. And so much happiness I know it will bring, the thrill of wearing a Super Bowl ring. To be the best is my quest. Now, everything needed, I cannot mention, but I hope the things that I've said is not beyond your retention. So be the
Mm.
best in whatever you do. And that's
I
what I try and live by.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Those are definitely words to live by. Although we're not getting Super Bowl rings and big wads of cash, but we we're definitely all have a purpose in our life and a meaning. I think people sometimes forget that we're all here for a reason.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
you took that journey, through the NFL, touching lives all throughout that and into corporate and what have you. People have other paths and journeys, but it doesn't mean one is more important than the other.
you're
We've
exactly
all,
right,
we've
Michelle.
all been assigned, right? We've all have an
Yes,
assignment. And
yes,
so I appreciate the fact that you shared part of your assignment. We know the job isn't done, that you have more work to do, and as long as God puts breath in your body, you are going to do it. I already know this. It's actually good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while because we've been so busy and whatnot, but
life.
yeah, life, exactly. But it's good to see you, and give my love to Eleanor and the family, and what's our friend Dirk down in
Absolutely.
I never forget
Dirk and Dundas and
yes, all
yeah.
those great guys, right? Just good people.
Yes.
Just give everybody my love, and I just want to thank you so much for coming here and supporting Smack Productions. I know I was trying to get you on with the preachers, but I think you were getting your Hall of Fame award at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
some things are kind of important. And
Just a little
I
bit.
yeah, and so I understand that and appreciate it. But I just want to say thank you again. And I'm thanking everyone out there in Smack Nation. You always support me, whether it's in the live views, on the page, putting things on the page. We're posting a lot of things about just African American success stories or pioneers that we just don't hear about because, we've been boxed in with a top 25 and, nothing else beyond that. So it's been really interesting. And I just wanted to let Smack Nation know that I appreciate and I read every single one of the posts that you put out there that I'm telling you, I'm learning so much and I'm reading the comments and people are learning so much. So please keep up the good work. And you do not have to stop at the end of February if you want to keep posting and keep
Absolutely.
sharing, keep giving us the story because we need to know this. I mean, you didn't maybe know about Greg Coleman. Now you do. Now you can go research him, go Wikipedia him and Google him and all that because he's out there. And he, as you can see, he has a wonderful story to share. So with that, I am going to cut it off. I don't see any particular questions in the chat. Just let me make sure.
But Michelle, while you check the chat, I would
Mhm.
like to also thank you for your body of work in this arena, in giving those the opportunity to share their stories. Because if we don't share our stories, they won't get told the way that they need to with the truth, not leaving out some things or what they think they know. No, this is a amazing, awesome platform that you have. So
Mm,
thank you, my dear, and I miss you. I love you so much,
love
and
you too. Thank you.
we'll be. I love you more now.
Ah!
Now, and you now, what you gonna do about
I guess not.
it? You take
Oh,
care. God bless you, my
yes.
friend.
Thank you so much. And
All right.
we'll see the Smack Nation here next month with another wonderful topic. Everyone, have a great evening. Good night.